What's good? What's good? It's Lene Bevette. This is the Melanated Era Hour. Like we do every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern, myself and my beautiful co-host come to you. And for the hour, we're going to talk about things that are melanated, relative to life and or business. I do not do this by myself. I do this with the beautiful Teddy Ewing at The Real Teddy Talks, tuning in from Egypt. You got to put all the letters in there. Egypt. We have Miss Faye Bishop. Egypt. Faye Bishop at Miss Faye Bishop is with us on today. We haven't seen her in a while. Welcome back, Faye.
Welcome back, Faye.
Welcome back.
We have Keisha Ravenel at We Inspire Brand in the house with us today. Who are we missing? We are missing Madam President today. She is celebrating her birthday in Paris. She's turning 36. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Madam President.
Madam President.
And so if you are tuning in, please take a minute to say hey, say hi, say hello, ladies. Let us know where you're chiming in from. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, the share button. Today we're talking about Facebook, Meta. That's what they call themselves now. Meta. Enterprise put up an article that says Facebook is to examine whether it treats Black users differently. So they want to know if, I guess they're internally wanting to see if they treat Black people differently. And we have an answer. Like, we know whether they do or they don't. But I'm going to read just a little bit of the article before we jump into the conversation. It says Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, will examine whether its platform treats users differently based on their race. Black Facebook users and employees have complained and criticized the social media site's racial bias for years. I could read more, but I'd rather have the conversation. Before I get into the conversation, those of you that are tuning in, if you've had a situation or altercation with Facebook, go ahead and put it in the comments. Anybody want to jump in and take this first?
I've had a situation. I had a situation. It was right around the George Floyd incident where, George Floyd was murdered. And I put something up on Facebook. I was very vocal about it. And they took my post down and they said this goes against Facebook guidelines stuff. I'm like, what? So I screenshot what I put and then I put it on Instagram. I'm just you won't silence me. I will not be silenced. But of course they treat us differently. Doesn't the world? It's duh.
What makes Facebook different? Yeah. Go ahead, Teddy.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, Facebook is a microcosm of the world, and the world has centuries of discrimination against Black people. I mean, period. Obviously, it's a global thing. So why would it be different? I mean, and let's just talk about emojis, the emojis. Let's talk about words you can say. Let's talk about our plight. Let's talk about our pain points. When we talk about them, it's always racially charged because we're Black. So it is race and it's racially charged. And nobody wants us to discuss racially charged things when it makes anyone else look bad. So there you go. So that tells you how the algorithm is going to process our information over others. So, I mean, it's deep, obviously. And I don't know what their 10-man team is going to figure out and fix. I can't wait to see that part.
Man.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
No, if you want to go.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I
can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think at this point, I'm even reading the comments. It looks like all of us have been in Facebook jail at some point or another. And it keeps happening. So it's safe to say that, yeah, something ain't right in the Kool-Aid. And I mean, we could talk about just the postings, but this actually traces back to their hiring practices, which have been under fire for some years now in terms of Black people, people of color. and the racial discrimination. It's happening everywhere now, across not just Facebook, but so many different platforms. And it boils down to is censorship, all of it. This is why it's so important to understand what it is we're advocating for when we're advocating for things. And I say that because this whole censorship thing that they've been on for about 3 or 4 years. And the moment that they banned Donald Trump, and I know everybody's probably going to go nuts, but that told me everything I needed to know. That told me that none of us weren't safe. None of us weren't safe. This is in spite of the fact that so many people were cheering and giving their little round of applause across the internet. It was a sign of things to come, because it's been downhill ever since. At some point or another, you can expect to just go, violate some sort of community standard with Facebook. Be it I use the word Black and Negro one time in a post, just the comment section of someone else's post, and I got banned for 30 days. And I was just like, we were talking about history. Why am I being banned for that? But that's what they're doing now. And it begs to question, what are we going to do about it? Because they have made up their minds about what it is they're going to do. Now, they can run, of course, this little thing that they're going to run where they're going to try to run their investigation and come to XYZ conclusion. But we know it's not going to stop. Not really. What are we going to do about it? My answer to that, and I would love it in the comment section if you could tell me, what do you feel the answer to that is? My personal answer to it is, it's time for us to either create our own competition that will rival Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and the TikToks and all of the social media platforms of the world, or we are going to have to stay pissy and shut up, because where else are we going to go?
Great.
I think that you opened up so many doors. I wanted to have the conversation about Trump's true platform. Because I think it works both ways. It's not just for, white folks to be on it, Black folks get to be on and tell our truth too. But that's a different piece of the conversation. I want to back up a little bit to just the actual way that Black people are dealt with and handled on Facebook. To your point, I have been, not as much anymore, but I used to be in Facebook jail like every other week. I have 3 backup pages because I was in Facebook jail so much. And for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I was in Facebook jail one time for like 30 days. Now, this was when I was running Closire, and literally every single one of my posts was Black motivated, something challenging the system. I don't have Closire anymore, and so those aren't my posts anymore. But when I was, to your point, Faye, advocating for Black people, advocating for Black empowerment, advocating for racial equality and things of that nature, the posts weren't necessarily racist, but they were to incite togetherness and empowerment of Black people. And those were the types of posts that were being taken down. And then when you go to have those posts investigated and say, hey, this was not a racially insensitive post, the person on the other end is not Black. And so therefore they don't know if this is a racially sensitive post or not. And so to your point, it's not just is the posting or is the censorship racist. It's also they need more Black employees to know what is racial or what is not. If you are not from my community, you don't understand my culture, you don't understand the underlying message in my post, how can you determine what's racial and what's not racial, what's racially insensitive and what's not racially insensitive? So they do have multiple different areas where they need to work on. They need to get more Black employees, and they need to decide how they're going to monitor those things that are racially sensitive, not racially sensitive, because a lot of shit, I'm offended by a lot of stuff that white people post. But if you go and say, hey, this isn't racially insensitive, or I don't get it, or it's not, I'm offended by it, they're like, oh, this meets our community standards, it's fine. Why? Because they understand it, because it's not offensive to them. So all that, and then to come forward to what you just said, Faye. I know we often say we should get our own platform. My question whenever somebody says that is, will we do right by our own platform? We have Black Planet. It's been there for years. Nobody does anything with it. We've had multiple different Black Enough. We've had multiple different Black platforms that have come out, and then they don't get the support that they need in order to flourish or even be competitive with a Facebook or an Instagram. What do we do for that? Like if we say the only way to combat this is to have our own platform, how do we then turn around and support that platform to give it the same foundation of a Facebook or an Instagram or a YouTube or a Twitter?
You know what, Renee? You hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail. I'm gonna say it real quick, Faye, and I'm gonna turn it over to you. I think that it's just we don't build, but then we complain about what's built, but have no desire to build. And it just can't work that way. We could all go to a different platform. We, like some conscious people, woke people, whatever you want to call it, Hotep, whoever you want to be, and the majority won't follow. So then now our incomes are threatened, our livelihoods are threatened. So then we have to come back to where our followers are, where our clients are, where our customers are, in order to continue to make our living, because we can't eat off the crumbs in this small community. So it's very idealistic, but it's not solving the problem. And it's just like this snake that keeps eating its tail, and it's going to continue. So we have to be fed up enough. But this goes across a lot of issues in the Black community. Is we're not really a community. We don't stand by each other. We don't say it's going to be this way or the highway. We don't have a collective agenda. And if we did, we're not all moving forward to it because we're not standing for B1, right? First over all others. And without that, we will never have the strength and the power we need to take our trillions of dollars in spending and move it somewhere else. So we have the ability, we have the power, we're just not using it.
Yeah. And we like to be comfortable, I feel like, as a collective. And it's understandable, right? Like we see other communities and they're comfortable, but they're comfortable because that comes from centuries of building. We don't have that, right? So we don't have the privilege to be comfortable, right? Like we have to make sacrifices for the things that we want. And I agree with you, ladies. And we've spoken about like the censorship on other shows and like moving on to our other platforms. And what you both said is absolutely correct. It's like the people that want to do it will go do it. But then like what happens to our following? What happens to our money? And what happens and when something happens to our money that we're putting back into the Black community, it's like, it doesn't work. So it's like, what do we do? So it is very difficult. I feel like, I guess, I don't know, we need to get more people on board with moving and sacrificing. Like, I really don't know.
You know what, Lady J Reagan says, why can't you do both? And I think it may come down to that because it's bigger than just it's money, right? If we can do both or have, support a Black platform and we make that move and we're united and we take those numbers, what then happens is advertisers start to notice that, and advertisers will start to invest in that company. And that business will start to get some notoriety and some traction. So doing both might actually be the way to go. Still be here where your business is, where your numbers lie, where your people lie, but also help to grow something else, make a grassroots effort in growing something else. Because if those numbers start to take notice, if those numbers start to go up, advertisers will start to take notice. And I think that might be a good way to do it, because if we're just let's just be honest. If we're being real and we're being honest, nobody's just going to walk away from Facebook tomorrow. It's not going to happen. We know that they have racial practices. We know that they aren't doing people right. We know that they're censoring people. We know that they're like Faye said, if they'll take Donald Trump off, they would definitely take my little Black ass off. You know what I'm saying? We know that these things are happening, so we need to be preparing our backup plan,
right,
in tandem with what with the work that we're doing on Facebook.
Right. And Facebook doesn't care about, so we talk about like racial stuff where we're outwardly saying like things, maybe someone is racist or whatever, right? We say those things, but they don't even care about Black empowerment when we're trying to move forward. So I remember I had a post, so you guys know I sell like my I Am Enough t-shirts. My other collection is my red, black, and green collection. I can't even promote that like on an Instagram. You know how you boost a post? I can't even say anything about like, yes, like Black empowerment or Black people, because any hashtags or anything like that I use, they will deny it from being promoted. So it's not like I'm calling out the system. Like I'm not doing anything. I'm just saying like, go Black people. And they're like, oh no, you ain't promoting that. Like
y'all ain't going a damn where.
But they censor on all different kinds of stuff. So I have a friend who has a Black dating app called Real Black Love, and they will not let him post ads. He cannot advertise through Instagram or Facebook his dating app, Real Black Love, because they have partnerships with other dating apps.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
That sounds right. And this is terrifying. This is terrifying. When I hear this, when we have this discussion, it is so real and in our face and terrifying that we should immediately go to a UX and UI developer who knows how to make apps and create something new, and immediately en masse just transfer and shut the system down going over, because this cannot end well. This will not end well. This is going to end with us just getting used to being censored. We're going to stop saying the word Black. We're going to stop saying the word power together. We're going to stop doing all these things. And when we stop doing it on social media, where people spend a lot of majorities of their free time, then you're going to stop doing it in your normal conversation. And you're going to stop doing it in your homes and at your dinner tables. And then the whole thing is going to die altogether. And you'll forget that you had initiative and you had a desire to see Black communities flourish and grow and see B1 people working together and trying to have our own and build our own and build generational wealth, because they're killing it and the thing you're spending all your free time with. So your free time is going to filter over and spill over into your time with your families and the times that you're spending away from social media. And we're going to be so robotically trained, we won't even know it. We'll be brainwashed and won't even know it.
I just want to say thank you to Sharonda. Thank you, Sharonda, girl. She said she liked my chair. I got
Yes.
So wow, that was a lot. And I agree. But here's the thing about the whole unified supporting us by us. We feel that way, right? We feel that way. All of us in this room, those of us in the comment section feels that way. But what about those in power? How do they feel? How do your politicians that you vote for feel? They're the ones. We forget all of that stuff. See, we talk about us, but I don't have Jay-Z and Kanye West kind of money, do you? They do. They have that money. They have more power than I think we give them credit for. Barack Obama has power. He over there making Netflix films right now. He could start his own social media platform. I think tons of us would hop on board. Would we not? Would we not? I love that we like to talk about us, but I feel like when we use that us conversation, we're talking about a lot of us that are down here versus those of them who we tend to give our votes to, those of them who we tend to give our money to when we're buying albums, supporting streaming services such as Tidal. That could have been an amazing thing to start to rival Facebook. That could have been started to rival Facebook, but it wasn't done. He got it, sold the rest of it to Sprint, then let it go, and now it doesn't even.
Yeah.
You make
see when we have these conversations, it's very important for us to really look we're so into our feelings that we forget to be introspective and to look at things logically and really ask, does what we're advocating for and what we're supporting make sense in the long term? Because we're definitely going to be impacted. And that's why I brought up the situation about we can sit and we can whine and we can complain, but until a platform is created or something is created that rivals all of these platforms, we're going to have to deal with it. You know, Black business is a wonderful thing, and I talk about that all the time. But it's too many hairlines, too many lash lines, too many hair salons. Everybody got a catering company, all these things. Everybody's a coach. Everybody got courses. These are amazing things. But how many of us are working in STEM and tech to get some of these companies running that can rival a lot of these platforms? How many of us have our children are pursuing careers in STEM and tech? Because that's the wave we need to get on if we are going to rival all of this. If we're going to, where are the banks? We have to do something different. Otherwise, it's just going to be 10 years from now. It's going to be the same thing. And with what's going on in the world now, and how so many businesses, believe it or not, and one day we're going to have a conversation about a lot of businesses are going to be wiped out due to hyperinflation. What are we going to do? And I believe a lot of this with the censorship and everything was planned. It didn't just spring up out of nowhere. All this Facebook jail and discrimination, this stuff was all planned, because we're not just being censored as it pertains to our Blackness and in Black empowerment. We're being censored with everything. You have to use buzzwords now just to talk about COVID.
Right.
It's everywhere. It's everything. And meanwhile, I feel like those at the top that have the power aren't really advocating for us in the way that they should. I like to call them bootlickers. Why? Because they care about what matters to them. We talk about us being unified and us being a community, but are those people, why aren't they not really? I feel like a lot of times it's just us, as in us, the four of us, those of us in the comment section. You have Boyce Watkins and many others in the Black YouTube, stratosphere that seem to be on one accord. But after that, it's like I feel sometimes like there's nobody else. Now, you could correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but I just do. Like I said, it's a lot that's going on where I feel like people in power, Black people in power, because there's a lot of them that are on very different media platforms, can really advocate to get something else going. And they're not. They're really just doing whatever their bosses that are at these whatever corporate corporation runs, whatever media platform they're a part of, they're going on in that direction. And they don't care that Facebook is putting us in jail. They don't.
And that's because they're a part of the system of white supremacy. So they were hired, they were put in place to uphold that. So when I see Black people in power, right? When I see them, like I said, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, it's like they're part of the system. So they're not B1 anymore. They're white supremacy. So that's what I see when I see that. So I think that it's going to be difficult if we don't come together, if we don't unify, if we don't use our resources to let these people know, no, you have to put us first. But we don't do that, right? Like they always says, we vote based off of emotion. Like, oh, they Black, I like them. Yeah, they gonna get something done for me. It's just like, not if you're not putting money in their pocket, they're not. So I feel like we have to get off of that emotional voting and thinking that people are just going to do something for us because they're Black. Once they enter that, it's a whole different ball game, and they're playing the game of white supremacy, upholding white supremacy. They ain't thinking about no B1 and serving little Keisha and Faye and Teddy and Lene. They ain't thinking about that. They think about themselves and that system.
It's a shame too. And a shiny example of that would be Kamala Harris. Everybody knows the controversy that went down at Howard University this year. That woman did not open her mouth one time to say anything. And she's actually Howard U alumni. Mm-hmm. She could have had it done. Vice President of the United States. Nothing.
No one. Who's holding her accountable? Who is holding her accountable? Who's holding the other line? I've seen articles about it because I'm in this world, right? Like, because I do crypto, I see crypto news. So I see it all the time, all day. But the average person, they don't see crypto news. They're not in my world. So I see articles about calling Kamala Harris out and a lot of other Howard alumni in that situation. And I don't see it in mainstream media, though. I don't see anyone saying anything, anyone being outraged about it. Like our outrage is just those white tears. It's like I can't even with it. You know what I mean? And I find myself numbing myself to the whole situation because we can't do it. Us four can't do it by ourselves. Us four plus the people in the comment section can't do it by ourselves. And it's frustrating. So I have to just almost detach emotionally and continue to live my best life, create good products, try to save people one at a time, build for my family in hopes that maybe the next generation can do it, right? I just don't know. And it's like, I know what needs to be done. We have a lot of good recommendations on this show in the comments, but people are like, what are you doing? Like, I'm doing it. I'm trying to bring the news to the people. I'm doing it. What else do you want me to do? Now, what are you doing? Mofo, what are you doing? Like, help us.
I think you made a good point, Teddy. I think every generation waits for the next. No, not waits. I think every generation thinks that the next generation is going to get it, and the weight of the world just gets heavier and it gets harder to deal with, which is why we keep having the same situation over and over and over again, and nothing gets dealt with. I think that the 80-20 rule applies here. It's not just in love and relationship. It's in most things, right? 20% of people are doing 80% of the work, whether it's in church, whether it's in work, whether it's in relationship, doesn't matter. And so you have the 20%, those of us that are on this call, B1, etc., recognizing and realizing and seeing what's wrong in the world and wanting to do something about it. But you have the 80% of us, and I'm speaking about us, Black diaspora, Black community, that are doing what they do. The crazy thing is you can be on both sides of this, right? So you like Teddy said, you can see what's going on in the world, or you can want to do something about it, being in that 20%, but also live in the 80% where you're trying to live your best life and do things and move forward. And it makes it difficult because you know that there are things that we need to be doing differently. There are things that we need to be supporting. There are things that we need to be talking about. One of the things specifically that you guys are talking about with Kamala Harris, she is quiet as a church mouse. I have never seen a vice president this quiet in all of history. They used her, they got her in, and then they put her in a corner somewhere. We don't see her. She don't be out. I mean, blink twice if you're okay. Send up a smoke signal, something. Let us know you're there, because you don't see her, hear about her, nothing. It's the craziest thing. But we, the other piece to that is we can't look to our politicians and our celebrities. I forget, somebody said in the comments, once you get out of, I'll call it the Black struggle, and you transcend to some type of financial success, if you will, to what we're saying here, it's not B1. It's not Black first. It's I'm not even going to say it's green first, but it's definitely protect what I have at all costs. Right? Whatever that means for that individual. I've transcended the Black struggle. I've got some level of success. And what am I going to do to keep this level of success? And or what am I going to do to get more of this success? Who am I going to allow? Fraternities and etc. I ain't going to start being a conspiracy theorist, but what am I going to do to keep going? And that, I think, is some of the problem. A lot of folks on this level of life, if you will, are trying to figure out how to get to that level of life. And in that pursuit, I hate to use the crabs in a barrel analogy because I don't think it's true. I don't think that that's right. So I don't want to use the crabs in a barrel mentality or example, but I will say that when you're trying to get out of a situation and you're trying to transcend and you're trying to get to another level, a lot of times people will do whatever it takes to do that. And sometimes that means stepping on or over your brothers and sisters to do it. Not just stepping on or over your brothers and sisters, but their needs, their requirements, censorship, what's happening in the news, what you're posting, what you're advertising. Like you'll turn a blind eye to those things, trying to get to the next level. And I think that's what's happening, what we're seeing right now. They know Facebook is crazy. Like they know that Facebook is racist. They know that Instagram is racist. They know that, things that are happening in the world. They know justice things are wrong. They ain't blind. But in order to protect that level of success that they've collected, in order to protect the money that they've earned, in order to protect the friendships that they have, the people that they know, they kind of have to stay quiet and be hushed, because it could infringe on those things. If I say the wrong thing, my sponsorships could be taken away. If I do the wrong thing, people won't support me. If I go here, my funding will be pulled. If I do this. And so they're caught between a rock and a hard spot. The unity comes from the power players and the individuals who have more power than us saying enough is enough. I've made enough money. Let me stand with my community. I've made enough money. Let me stand with people who look like me. Let me change legacies. Let me empire build. Here's the thing. If celebrities, politicians, people of power that look like us actually pulled away from mainstream, our $1 trillion power could support them.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. For sure. 100%. But then that goes back to power, Lene, because how much power, these multi-hundred millionaires and billionaires in some case don't do that. They don't step outside, because then I say, well, you're a billionaire. Who cares if you ruffle feathers? But there has to be more to the story. Now I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I'm just thinking, if it was all about
you're right.
generational wealth, you got that. Like you and your next 7 generations should be good. So why don't you speak up and step up? There's more to the story. That power and that money is attached to a contract or something, like verbal, unwritten, I don't know, that puts it in jeopardy. So that's why I don't even care when people say so-and-so's and the new billionaire, this and that. They can't say what they want to say. They can't do what they want to do, they would do it. So that's all the evidence I need. I can be a conspiracy theorist or not. That's all the evidence I need to say there's more to the story. Or they don't give a crap. If they don't give a crap, we need to stop supporting them.
Yeah, or would they, right? So we know this information, but do they? I mean, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. So we say like, they should do such and such for the Black community. Do they know that they should be doing these things for the Black community? Right? Like, or are we assuming that because they have this money, it's like, all right, well, it's time to step up and do for your people, but they probably don't even think like us.
I think, I hate to say that they don't care, because I in my heart, I don't want to believe that that's the case, even though I feel sometimes like they don't care. I believe that once they get to a certain level and they get to hobnob with certain people in power, they start to concern themselves with what it is they're doing. I feel as though, and let me just say that I don't follow celebrities for this very reason. I also don't follow a lot of politicians, other than my local politicians and politicians in my state, because everything matters at the local level, right? I do not follow them because in order for me to support what it is you're doing and your efforts, in order for me to get behind it, I need to believe in you and I need to believe in what you're doing. And I don't believe in a lot of them anymore. One comment that I want to address is something that Adela Hill said. She said, each one bring one. We are a powerful political force if we use it right. I wholeheartedly agree with that, because Asians got together without a celebrity. They used attorney. If you really dig, and I dug deep. They approached bankers, I guess CEOs of banks, and a couple of other people. It wasn't even politicians. It was just people who are big in their community in terms of the corporate world. Banking, lawyers. I know a couple of lawyers helped to get funding and they galvanized and they got that hate crime bill. Mm-hmm. See, they're not concerning themselves with Wakanda and symbolism and things we're seeing on TV and things like that. They getting together and they getting some laws passed. They ain't got time for all that. They ain't got time for shade room gossip. They ain't got time for this is what we want. And this is what we come into the table with. Here are our resources. What are you going to do for me? Right. And that's what we need to do. It's like I said, I hate to feel like they don't care, but clearly we see that they're doing whatever it is that they do. Unfortunately, I wish that they would use their power differently. Unfortunately, they're not. But we do need to get people on board with us in some form or another that can help us to galvanize, to push for certain sorts of policy so that in the very least, we don't have to worry about this kind of stuff where we're worried about making a post that talks about Black empowerment, that talks about our history, that talks about slavery without being banned. Because when it comes to social media, one of the things that we must keep in mind is that these platforms are not regulated, which makes it difficult to attain what's fair and balanced, right? You can really, at one point you used to be able to get on them and say whatever you wanted to feel. And then this whole censorship thing crept in over the past 4 years. And now it's certain keywords and buzzwords you can't say. But in the midst of all of us having this conversation right now and all of the comments, where is everybody else? At least someone that can say, until we get this, and that, you don't get our vote. We're not coming to your concert. No more verses. Take that shit, because we show up for verses. Oh, we could come together for that. But I mean, I just feel like and this conversation, I'm sure it could go on forever. I know I could have it forever, but we got to figure something out, because this has to stop, because I feel it's going to get much worse. That's just my opinion, especially with the introduction of Meta and the Meta universe and all of that. I just feel as though it's just going to get progressively worse.
Yeah,
it is.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Chanel made it! Happy birthday!
First of all, I just want to say, Faye, so good to see you, my sister. It's good to see you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Y'all know y'all talking my thing. Y'all talk about Black people empowerment, white supremacy, get on off that bus. I'm over here smiling in my heart over here. Y'all talking that talk. I love it. I think about this a lot, because as a person who kind of, when I was younger, I kind of felt like this ain't right. Something's wrong. Why am I living over here and the people who got the money living over there? You know, and then I also felt like something was wrong between how our mindset, how we being treated as a people. Growing up in the inner city of Chicago, when I began to make my own money, make my own living, I looked at my mother, my grandparents, and my mother's siblings, and I said, man, we're millionaires all together. I looked at how long my grandparents lived and rented, and that had to be over 25, 30 years. Then all three of their children went out and they began to rent, and everybody had to rent a property for at least 10, 15 years, right? Because now I'm 36. So I said, what in the world is going on? 10 years paying rent in the city of Chicago, grandparents 25, 30 years. That's $1 million right there. That's $1 million. We don't have, I hate to be repeating what Kanye West said, but the one thing for sure is information. We're just now getting information in real time with the internet, but that was a long time. People who would get the information, they held on to it. They didn't care. Now there are people like Kanye West, a multi-millionaire,
And I'm not I'm not like a Kanye West fan or anything, but he's from Chicago. So, there's a interest there. But my point is, when he was trying to build his corporation, he needed all types of things that he didn't have any information for. Now, this is a person who got millions. Now, imagine you sitting over there with 45,000 trying to build. You need some information. You need some information, not just money. And the other thing is, too, Black geniusness. That's why we got to hold white supremacy, the government accountable. Every time Black people begin to build their own genius, like Wall Street, white America came and threw bombs on it. They don't get away with that. They shouldn't get away with that. We're the only people where you can mistreat, degrade, kill, and assassinate, and we'll take the holiday. What? That don't even make sense. You can't do that to any other group of people. So when you look at the Chinese community, these folks gonna put me out this hotel by the time I get finished.
Are you in the lobby? Are you in the lobby?
No, I'm in my room, but I'm in the area. I can hear the complaint now. Yeah, I got a Black militant person over there. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just tickled. But the reality is, they were able to get away with it. I'm hurt that Malcolm X's daughter was found dead in her apartment at 56. And I just want to say this, and I thank y'all for being patient with me because I'm just hopping on. But with Malcolm X, he is as prevalent and powerful as a LeBron James. See, the thing about Malcolm X is he changed and saved lives. But America saw those people as a bunch of nobody, right? So they're like, oh, he changed and saved a bunch of nobody. But Malcolm, he did what most people couldn't do. First of all, went to prison, in prison, taught himself, gave himself a vocabulary and an understanding about defeating white supremacy with a true passion to the point where, he gave us life to it, changed people around. How many folks struggled on drugs? It was just like, I cleaned my life up. I joined the nation. I mean, like that's a celebrity. That is a real person. It's like when you think about the concept of Jesus Christ being the father of being the son of the God, and then they say Jesus Christ came and died for our sins so that we may live. Well, what you think Malcolm X came and did? He took a bullet for you so that you can go ahead and get that PPP loan. What you think?
Not the PPP.
Now, these people could have easily decided that, hey, you know what? I'm pretty good. I'm pretty healthy. I can keep talking to y'all. I don't got to keep going out demanding that you also don't have to walk through the back door. I don't have to keep going out demanding that you have fair rights. I don't have to do that. I can strictly do it for myself and my family. But the reality is, true leadership, that's not something that is easy. I think I heard KRS-One said it. Harriet Tubman, it was one of her. It was one Harriet Tubman. As you can see, it's a lot of Cardi B's. We can get a lot of that going on. We can get a lot of people in that lower thinking process willing to pretty much, just kind of hold themselves out for the dollar. But then you got another people that says, wait. It's the reason that I'm here. And I'm not going to let them get away with me being right here. But it's hard. You know why? Because when you look at Young Dolph, he was killed by a Black person. When you look at my father, he was killed by a Black person. When you look at how many Black people infiltrated every movement that Black people had, the one thing that they were able to keep dangling in our face was money. Hey, go ahead, give me the information. I got some money for you. From the civil rights movement to the Nation of Islam, everybody was money in their faces. So I think that when the true wealth is understanding that my soul is not for sale. If we can get 1 million young girls kind of in that mindset, and 1 million young men from that community alone, we can build. We don't need a bunch of people, think about electricity. Where your Black-owned electricity company? Where's the black-owned bank? And guess what? I'm not talking about the black-owned bank that has the same standards as a white supremacist infrastructure.
Right.
What is the point? If I can't go in there and have any form of benefit for being black, then what's the point? I can put my money anywhere. You know, so I really believe, Lene, and everybody, that one of the biggest issues is, I mean, Marcus Garvey had it. It's almost like you got to be willing to leave this right here.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's the only way. That's really the only way. And because where's our system? Where's our system? We had our own plane. Black Wall Street had a couple planes, bombs. We had a post office, bomb. We had schools, bomb. Then we got all these HBCUs that needs government funding. That don't make sense. You can't even teach a curriculum without the oppressor approving it.
Sure can.
Exactly. Who's on the board at the HBCU?
Man, it gets so frustrating, but I know from the All Black National Convention, I know that it's at least a good 1,500 people there that want to start everything. And I'm down. When y'all pick out the land, when y'all pick out the location, I'm gonna be right there by my house.
I'm removed.
At the All Black National Convention community. I'm down. Like, I feel like we have enough. But I mean, if you never satisfied, you'll never speak up for Black people. You'll never speak up because you like, man, they taking me from Gucci. So what?
Oh, no, wait. You said if you're never satisfied. If you are satisfied, you'll never speak up for Black people.
Ooh, but I feel like it's the need for more, Lene. Like, the thing is, I kind of go, I understand, like, this world, W.B. Du Bois call it double consciousness, right? He says it is impossible for Black people to walk around America and basically not serve two agencies, a Black agency and a white one. So you get all the way up here with them and you still down here with your people. You can't even, and then you be like, God damn, I can't bring, like, somebody look at the melanated air, they say, shit, I can't bring all these women up. I'm gonna have to take Keisha, you know, I'm gonna have to take Lene. They gotta feel like they gotta take two. But then
wait, say that again, Madam President, because I think you made an awesome point right there. And in the example of the white agency, so the world, entertainment, sports, politicians, you climb the ranks, but even as a Black person, you can only take so much of your Blackness with you as you transcend. That's crazy.
Exactly. So when you look at when you next time, I know we don't really watch the BET Awards and stuff, but we see the snippets. We ain't in no cold, but we see some of the stuff that's going on. Everybody who come through there, right? When I look at the Jay-Z's, when I look at all those different folks, I look and see, I guarantee you, he probably got 25 cousins that cannot get him on the phone. He probably got 12 aunties that can't get him on the phone. But think about this, even from that level, if you think about where you currently are and what you currently have, because you handle your whole family, you being the source for everybody in your lineage. That's big. And that's why the system
That's it. I was going to say, but I have to say it again. Everybody can't come. I'm going to find a way to say that during every episode. Everybody cannot come, and nor should they. Everyone doesn't belong on this battle with you where you're bringing them along. So yeah, you'd have a lot of dead weight if you were trying to bring your whole family along, because 80% of them, back to Lene's 80-20 rule, ain't gonna do no work. They ain't gonna help build. They ain't gonna do nothing. They ain't gonna start that farm. They ain't gonna chase after them chickens. They ain't going in the coop to get them eggs. They're not gonna help them goats. They're not gonna learn about how to buy land and what to do with the land once you have it, and what kind of farming equipment you need, and how to build banks and build this infrastructure in this new neighborhood that we're trying to build. So they stay their ass back where they are, and you
Yep.
bring the 20% of your family that is really going to do something. If it ain't your family, then your close friends in your circle, or melanated air. And then y'all take each one, teach one. Y'all take 1 or 2 people with you, and then you build up that way. And we don't let everybody in. Everybody cannot come. I don't want them there. I'm about to say their asses. I don't want everybody there.
It's true.
You know,
Our
somebody
Negroes official said, "How do you know that?" Well, you know your people, right? So if I'm saying like, I can't bring my whole family, or I can't bring these people with me when I go to the next level, there are people that have tried, right? So if you're trying to bring them with you and they're being resistant, you got to leave them behind, because guess what? You're going to be stuck right behind with them if you keep trying to bring them. So I feel like in that sense, it's like, you know who can come with you and who can't.
But guess what gets difficult? You trying to do what you're trying to do, and it's your own mama who can't even come with you. It's your own grandmama. Grandmama like over here, you know, come on now, Jesus gonna fix it. Grandmama, we out of here. He ain't. We taking this in our own hands. Your whole family be like, oh, y'all, she had lost her mind. You know?
She lost her mind.
Lost her mind. But that's how I feel like that's how difficult it is. I don't know if you saw Central Park 5, but Central Park 5, you know, I think one of the men, his own father, was like, go ahead and sign the what is it that made him sign? Yeah, go ahead and sign the agreement. And the young man was like, but I didn't do it, Dad. But this is a prime example of white supremacy in your own bloodline that's fighting against you. He told his son, go ahead and sign it. You mean to tell me that you are more afraid of the system? You believe in the system over your own son. He said, Father, I didn't do it.
Right.
This man said, sign it anyway. But that's
he had to go home. He had to go to work the next day. He ain't had time to sit there and be worrying about all that. You know what I'm saying? He didn't know better though. He was uneducated. He was uneducated. He didn't have a cousin or a brother to call and say, hey, what should we do? You know what I'm saying? By himself.
Well, hold on. I see Faye playing double dutch over there. She's trying to get in. Go ahead, Faye.
No, I'm listening and I'm reading comments. Because they preaching, so I'm like trying to stay in tune with them and reading comments so I can make sure I could address some things. Sunkissed by TMH said, we who have are too comfortable here. I agree. I think that that's been the kiss of death and is ultimately going to be the kiss of death for what we're dealing with now. Someone over on Twitter, and I'm on Twitter every day. If there is a platform I am on and probably will be, it will be last to leave, Twitter will be it. I can do without everything else, even though I have a large following on Facebook, but I love me some Twitter because of the fact that it's like a lot more live conversation happening. And someone said something this morning that I thought was very interesting, and it definitely relates to the conversation we're having now. They said there is a new racism happening. If you pay attention to everything that is happening, it's going by a different name now, but they're just changing what it is that they're discriminating against. So we know that it was color, but now we have things like vaccinated, unvaccinated.
Yep.
We now have the censorship thing going on where you can't mention certain words or certain phrases, and you can't have certain conversations on certain platforms. Otherwise, you are violating community standards. See you in 30 days. You can't be here. We don't want you here, right? Then we have the situation with, in the meantime, should I say, while all of that is happening, the dollar is dying. So these are things we're going to have to really understand when we're having these conversations and we're talking about unifying and doing our own thing while at the same time trying to stay in tune with the fact that we are American, which is what we are. I'm going to say that to the day I die. I'm Black, but I'm American too. You know, my family worked hard to be here. I'm here. This is my citizenship. So we really have to really just look at all of this, because there's something else brewing here that and that's in the works. Just like I said, before they decided the censorship stuff and the situation with COVID, all of that was planned. That didn't just spring. These things, I personally feel, do not just spring up out of nowhere. They're planned. And anytime you have somebody like Hillary Clinton, who we could have an episode just on her alone, sitting here talking about, yeah, you know, Bitcoin is about to kill the dollar. I don't know if anyone saw that conversation. Feel free to go on YouTube and see it for yourself. And she talked about how the currency, the fiat, is dying. And while all that's like, and mind you, this is in the midst of our usual police brutality. I shouldn't say usual, because it should be unusual, but it's what's happening. The police brutality, communities being burned, everything that's going on in our education system where it regards our children, and this whole thing regarding the health industry and everything that's happening, these mandates. There is a new racism brewing, but they're going to give it another name. And what we need to figure out is, what would that mean for us? Where do we see ourselves 20 to 25 years from now? Because the last thing I want for Black people to do is to become extinct, because we are just so caught up in our feelings that, again, and I have to say this, we are forgetting to be introspective and look at things logically and really ask and examine, does this make sense? Because how are we going to be impacted in the long term? And what does that mean? That means, in the midst of everything that's going on with Facebook, even though we may not have the rival company to do that now, we need to be creating something. We need to be doing something that says, in the event that we no longer want to be a part of Meta, which is what we call it now, where do we go so that we can, build and continue to do what it is that we need to do to keep Black people where we need to be? Because this is ridiculous what's happening now. There's definitely a new racism brewing. And I think that we can't just have one kind of conversation where it's like, we could talk about how we're Black all day and they hate us. We know that, right? We know that. But as Miss African Roots just said, what is the escape plan? What do we do? How do we figure that out? Because there's a lot coming that I don't think a good bit of us are going to be prepared for. I just really don't. I don't. It's like anytime I cannot get up on Facebook to say I love Black people without that being flagged, that's a problem. Anytime I can't get up on Facebook and says, hey, I'm all about, I got vaccinated, but I don't agree with the mandates, I still get banned. It's like I can't do anything anymore. So where does that leave us? What do we do? And this is one of the reasons why I'm so happy that my son is in STEM, because this what we're dealing with is serious. And someone said maybe it's not racism, it's classism. It's definitely something, because someone like me who is Black chooses not to get vaccinated, depending on where I go in the world right now, even if it's right next door to a different state, I get to be treated like a second-class citizen. Is that fair? Is that fair? And then I got brothers and sisters who look like me who are also on board with that. Mm-hmm. Does that make them less Black or me less Black? There's a different kind of racism brewing, and I think it's just time to figure out what it is we're advocating for, and we need to get with it and stick with it. An example of what I'm talking about, just to narrow down this point, a lot of people, I know the Kyle Rittenhouse situation has been major, right? And we could talk about that all day, and I'd rather not. But I noticed a lot of people kept saying, if he was Black, if he was Black. That was like a common saying that I kept hearing, if he were Black, if he were Black. And I think we all heard that, right? And it's kind of like, If he were Black, of course, we know the outcome likely would have been different. But at the same time, can you really complain if you sat there and voted for the king of mass incarceration to become your president? How you cannot sit here and complain about white supremacy on one hand while shaking hands with it with the other.
Yes.
You vote for politicians that are anti-gun, anti-Black, all for locking people up. Joe Biden put a lot of policies that we can't stand forth that blew up the whole system, right? That created this system that we hate in terms of our Black men and women as well being imprisoned. But you're sitting here saying, hey, if Rittenhouse were Black, but you just went and pulled the lever last November to vote for someone who is all about that kind of policy. Mm-hmm. You can't do, that's why I said we need to figure out what do we want and really be introspective about it. And think of the decisions that we're making because of how it's going to impact us in the long term. And then it goes from everything from social media, how we deal with our finances and our financing and ownership and everything, our health, all of it. We really have to think about it because we are so all over the place. And I think they want us confused and all over the place like that. So we don't know. That's why I said, if you notice, immigrants want one thing and they stay on that one thing until they get it. Asians want one thing, they stay on that one thing until they get it. They got us fighting fights that don't have anything to do with us. We're doing verses this week, and then we're talking about this person in this movie that week that we didn't care for. We're just all over the place. We're so all over the place. And I believe that that's being done on purpose. We're, like someone said, odd Negro, we're giving them the power to destroy us. And at this point, who do we blame? Because with all the resources at our feet, it's voluntary. Our ancestors didn't have a choice. They were enslaved. But my hands are free right now. I'm on this internet. I got access to a lot, as do all of us. Who am I going to blame if I decide I'm just going to succumb to this? Who do we blame at that point? We need to figure out something. We need to really stick with that something that we figure out and stay there. Because there's so much power. And I think I said this in a previous episode. There's so much power in where we choose to put our political and social focus. We just don't use it the right way.
True and true and true and true. We have come up on the hour of the melanated hour, but I'm not going to close out like that. I want to go around the room for final thoughts. If you shouldn't just be joining us because we're at the end, but we're talking about Facebook wants to know if they're racist, and we have the answer. We already know, their practices are. And so that's been the discussion today. Before we close out, I always like to try to go back around the room and get some final thoughts with regards to the conversation. And then just ask for support of each one of the ladies that you see here on the Melanated Air Hour. You can go and find each person at their handle. Check them out right now online. You can catch me at I Am Lene Javette. Teddy Ewing at The Real Teddy Talks. Faye Bishop at Miss Faye Bishop. Madam President, the birthday girl at the number 1, Madam President with the Z, tuning in all the way from Paris. Keisha Ravenel at We Inspire Brand. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday at 2:00 p.m. Eastern. You can catch us on the Melanated Air YouTube page, Facebook, and Instagram. Before we leave, we're going to go back around the room, do a round robin, so everybody can leave with their final thoughts with regards to either where we are or how you think we can resolve. We'll start with Keisha.
What's up? So I just want to say that we do need to get on one accord, and we have to stop expecting one person to carry us all. I think that's another thing that we expect in our community. Like, okay, where's our leader? We're always looking for our leader. You're the leader. It's you, So I know we had kind of a back and forth about you can't bring everybody, and someone in the comments said that's a cop out, but maybe you can bring the people that I can't bring, right? So like maybe I can't reach them the way you can reach them. So you go and reach them. Like I feel that we all need to be held accountable, and we all have our responsibilities for the Black community. It's not going to be me doing everything, or Faye or Teddy or Lene or Madam Prez. Like, we can't do it all. It takes the collective for us to go where we need to go. So we have to get on one accord. What is our mission? What is the goal? We come together. We say, this is it. You reach who you need to reach. I reach who I need to reach, and we go together.
I like that. Teddy?
I just want to say as well, I know the comments went back and forth, but I ain't going back and forth. You can't bring everybody. As someone who's been to war and had actual bombs dropped nearby and on my damn head, I don't want to be there with no one who doesn't want to be there. I don't want to be there with someone who don't know what to do when the bombs start falling. So we need to get people trained up, accustomed to this new standard, so we can all go together. And anyone who ain't down for that and doesn't want to do that, they need to stay behind and get themselves together. Then hopefully they can make the journey and catch up. But that's where I stand, and I ain't never changing that. That's all.
I ain't never scared, she said. What she said was, I ain't never scared.
Thank you for your service, Teddy.
Thank you for thanking me.
I just want to say that oh, someone else wanted to speak?
No, go ahead, Faye.
Oh, okay. I just want to say this. Sabotage from power structures, whatever they may be, has always been a thing since the dawn of age, right? And there are winners and there are losers in every game, okay? It's just the way it is. The winner walks away with the spoils of war. That's just the way it is. Your move, or should I say your position, your job rather, is to take position on the battlefield to make sure that your enemy's opening move ensures their defeat. So whatever direction that you decide to go in after this conversation, upon learning so much during this conversation and looking into everything that was discussed here, is to create a situation for yourself and your family and those who are coming, as Teddy, who you want to bring with you, as the lady so graciously pointed out. Make sure that y'all all are ready for that war, because sabotage from power structures are always going to be a thing. They're here to win. The winner takes home the spoils. Just make sure that whenever you're on the battlefield for whatever it is you're fighting, whatever cause you're fighting for, that their opening move guarantees their defeat, because you've already set yourself up to win.
Booyah. Madam President?
I disagree with everybody, and my computer may die out, so let me be quick as I possibly can. I just want to say the underused word in our community is intentionality, and another one is accountability. It's time for Black folks to be intentional about their every single day, their day to day. And it's time for you all to stop acting like idiots and shit, letting your kids do whatever they want to do. Stop all of that. You got to be intentional. I think I've met a Black man. He said, my mother told me, son, you're going to be a lawyer. And guess what he is today? He's an attorney. She said, the family needs an attorney. Y'all want to go around like, oh, just be what you want to be. No, because a lot of y'all have the opportunity to be what you wanted to be, and you didn't be nothing. So guess what? We're going to start being intentional about it, and we're going to work hard on it. And it's not easy. No, it is not easy. But as I turned 36 and I'm in Paris, I realized something. The mean teacher who we didn't like, who was very stern on us, she was letting us know that we don't have the kind of world that will allow us to get away with murder. So although people say that Kyle Rittenhouse, I don't want to go into it either, but the harsh reality is you can't get away with murder. You can't get away with speeding over 10, in a lane half the time. You can't do what everybody else do. We know what that is. So guess what? You're gonna have to do something and be something. So let's hold each other accountable where we can. And let's be intentional about what we do as a collective. If Lene says, Madam President, ABC just offered me a job in they didn't treat me well. When ABC called me, I need to be in a economic empowerment to say you all did not treat my sister well. You know what I'm saying? But we just, oh, okay, they ain't treat you right. I'm gonna go over here. They gonna treat me better. No, because this is how you become your sister's keeper. Oh, that's just for the club and stuff, huh? That's just for the Nuck If You Buck. That's just for when you pledge in Delta. Like, we got to be real. I live in a real world. I live a real life. It ain't a social media life. It's a real life. I got real feelings. So I said, let's be intentional and let's be accountable. And that's going to be the pathway to excelling. And we don't need everybody. But everybody who want to come, that's the intentional and accountable group. And guess what? Our lifestyle is grand. It ain't missing nothing. And we ain't got to be in no kind of suffrage to be empowered. That's what y'all be missing out on, thinking that, oh, for me to choose my people, that means I'm going to be poor. No, baby, I'm wealthy. You know what I'm saying? And that's the mindset we got to have.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, y'all, from the birthday girl, Madam President herself. President.
I'm gonna run for office. I'm gonna be like, hey, if y'all want a real president, you want it to be all in the video.
You are a mess. All right. Well, that's our episode for today. We want to thank you all for tuning in. We want to ask you to make sure that you support us and follow us, share our videos, tell people about the Melanated Era Hour. Go check out everybody's sites, merchandise, products, services. I will tell you that this is our last live episode for this. So for this week, this is the last live episode. On Thursday, we'll have a replay because you should be somewhere with your family enjoying whatever you enjoy. I won't tell you what to do or how to do it.
Time off, a holiday.
Huh?
I said time off, holiday, whatever you want to call it.
It's called holiday. Everybody don't celebrate the same. So hopefully you'll be somewhere breaking bread with your family, just enjoying them, being grateful for the fact that you have family. And we will be doing the same, but we will see you back live on the following Tuesday. But we love you. We thank you so much for being here with us and supporting us. We hope that you continue to stay Black, be blessed, and be one. We'll see you guys next time.
I like that.